If there's a Norwegian player who's really good but not talked about much, that guy is Martin Ødegaard. You might say otherwise, but when people abroad talk about the best midfielders today, they usually mention 5 names, like Jude Bellingham, Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno Fernandes, Musiala, and Luka Modric. But they never mention Martin Ødegaard's name. I think that's crazy, right? But before that, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's super important for the channel. So hit the like button and let's go. Nowadays, Ødegaard is by far the 3rd best midfielder in the Premier League, at least for the past 2 seasons. It's a bit crazy to say that he's now at the level of those guys I mentioned earlier, like Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno Fernandes, Musiala, Modric, etc. He has everything a successful midfielder needs. His passes are incredibly accurate. He controls the game very well, and alongside Bukayo Saka, he pretty much leads Arsenal, likely being the most prominent name in the Gunners squad. What may have held Ødegaard's career back a bit was the time he spent at Real Madrid, and also the time he played for Real Sociedad, specifically at Real Madrid, where he was constantly being loaned out, and even playing with the B team, he rarely got any real opportunities, you know? But at Real Sociedad, he actually played well and caught Arsenal's attention. Nowadays, he's a beast, seriously. Even Haaland himself said it's no exaggeration to say Ødegaard is a top 5 midfielder today. And we're hearing this from the best striker in the world right now. Honestly, it's kind of crazy to think about how underrated Ødegaard is. He leads Arsenal and is an excellent captain. Mikel Arteta himself has said that. He also has some pretty amazing passes, with a quality similar to De Bruyne's, though a bit lower. In the Premier League, I think it's almost impossible to make a list like this nowadays and not mention the quality of Luis Diaz. It's unbelievable how good this Colombian is. Yet he's rarely mentioned as one of the best wingers in football today. Some people call him a choker for missing a lot of chances created by Liverpool, but that label fits Darwin Núñez more than Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz is one of those extremely offensive wingers who goes at opponents fearlessly, using a lot of dribbling. Something he's more than skilled at, being a specialist at it. In fact, he was the 2nd player with the most dribbles in the Premier League last season, 2023-24. Only behind Jeremy Doku from Manchester City, another guy we should watch out for because he's an amazing dribbler. Speaking of Manchester City, last season Luis Diaz absolutely dominated against them, leaving Rodri and Kyle Walker lost on the pitch. Seriously, he dribbled past everyone. It's not easy to deal with this kind of dribbling winger, and Casemiro knows that very well. In this season, 2024-25, Luis Diaz scored 2 amazing goals against Manchester United, taking advantage of 2 horrible mistakes by Casemiro. His current season started off strong, and he's already one of the standout players of the Premier League's first round, with 3 goals. This guy plays on another level. And speaking of standouts, we have to talk about Gabriel Martinelli. He's the only Brazilian in this video, I think, but quite possibly the most underrated of them all. He's rarely talked about, and that's largely because he plays in a position with many other top names worldwide. He's often overlooked or even dismissed by Brazilians for some reason. I don't understand these people, but the Gunners love Martinelli. It's no coincidence they snatched a kid from Ituano, which isn't a big club, right? That's what everyone thought. Martinelli surprised everyone by not feeling the pressure of playing in England and in the Premier League, especially at one of the country's best clubs, Arsenal. Over time, he became a key starter for the Gunners and greatly helped them in the last 2 seasons, where he really exploded and ended up being called up to the Brazilian national team. But it's a bit more complicated in the national team because his spot is taken by Vinicius Jr., so Martinelli didn't get much playing time. However, when he did, he showed his footballing ability and proved he was ready, scoring the same 3 goals Vini had until the Copa America. But here's the interesting part. Martinelli only started in 4 games, while Vini played 31 matches. Obviously, this isn't a comparison of who is better, but it shows that Vini really chokes when playing for the national team. This is undeniable. And at Arsenal, Martinelli has scored 41 goals, even though he only became a full-time starter in the 23-24 season, as he was on the bench behind Trossard, who, let's be honest, isn't all that. But man, Martinelli plays incredibly well. Now heading to Italy, let's talk about Barella. He's not really talked about here, but in Italy, my friends, the man is treated like a king by Inter Milan fans. Barella is one of Inter's key players, and is considered one of the best midfielders in Serie A. As a midfielder, Barella is one of the best currently playing in that position. He's not on the level of, I don't know, a masterclass player, but his quality is insane. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder than anything else. But he often plays as an attacking midfielder for Inter in Serie A, kind of like De Bruyne, you know? He's got the quality, and sometimes he just becomes possessed, playing like a demon because of the incredible passes and plays he pulls off. Lautaro Martinez himself said that Barella is the main player at Inter Milan, especially since Barella has provided so many assists for the Argentine. It's that thing, right? A lot of quality, but not much media attention. Continuing in Serie A, we have an Argentine who's having a blast playing football. Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan. Unlike the other players on this list, Lautaro doesn't play in any different position. He's strictly a center forward. But even as a center forward, he's not the type who just waits for the ball to come to him and puts it in the net. Instead, he often builds many interesting plays, kind of like Harry Kane, you know? He creates openings to make plays, even playing more withdrawn like an attacking midfielder, although it's quite rare to see Lautaro play that way. Lautaro was one of the top scorers in the world last season, with 32 goals for Inter Milan, and he was also Argentina's top scorer during the Copa America, where he played unbelievably well. A lot of people criticize Lautaro for his poor performance in the 2022 World Cup, but the truth is that players go through good and bad phases, and Lautaro's current phase isn't really good or bad. Currently, he's excellent, and if there's a hero in Inter Milan's good phase, that hero is Lautaro Martinez. Alongside Barella, he could very well become one of the greatest players in the history of Inter Milan. I think that's a bit difficult, but it's definitely possible. Not only that, but Lautaro Martinez is becoming one of the club's top scorers, proving that his football is excellent and of high quality. It's no surprise that PSG, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Newcastle were interested in Lautaro. Unlike, Gabriel Jesus, Richarlison, and other center forwards who think they're good, Lautaro outshines them all and shows what a true center forward is like. In terms of scoring today, I think he only trails Haaland, Harry Kane, and Jokic, who, let's be honest, are absolute monsters. At least for me. Lautaro Martinez is undeniably one of the best center forwards out there, extremely underrated due to that terrible World Cup he had. But the fact is that Lautaro has immense talent, and at Inter Milan, he's like a wild card, practically irreplaceable in the team. Now I'm sure you didn't expect me to include Schlotterbeck in this list. That's right. The German was one of the standout players last season, and is very likely among the top 10 best defenders in the world. As a center back for Borussia Dortmund, he's still very young and has an aura reminiscent of great German defenders from the past. Before the death of Franz Beckenbauer, a historic figure in football, he mentioned that he would like to see Schlotterbeck as a starter for the German national team, especially because he was one of the best last season. Obviously, that didn't happen. The national team left him out of most matches in the last Euro. However, the kid has proven to be very promising. Schlotterbeck is 1.91 meters tall and is one of those very mobile defenders, possessing great ball distribution and some incredible long passes. But what really sets him apart is his height, which helps him defend with more precision. It's no surprise that he has held his own against current football monsters like Kylian Mbappe, Haaland, and practically the entire Real Madrid attack in the last Champions League. As I mentioned, he and Rumors basically carried Borussia Dortmund last season, along with goalkeeper Kobel, leading the German club to the final. And although Rumors got a lot more attention, Schlotterbeck was also a monster, but is rarely mentioned. I would say he is easily among the top 10 defenders in the world today, and if he's not in the top 10, he's definitely in the top 15. It's actually quite hard to talk about someone good at PSG, especially now with the departure of the team's three main players. But there's one guy who is very underrated, the Portuguese player Vitinha. Many people end up dismissing him, including me, because he's not a masterclass player, right? But the truth is that he compensates for all that with an incredible work rate on the pitch. In the last Champions League, he was the engine of the PSG team, being everywhere at once and contributing even more than Kylian Mbappe, who, by the way, had a terrible Champions League, with most of his goals being lucky. Vitinha stood out even more against Borussia Dortmund when he hit a powerful shot that hit the crossbar of goalkeeper Kobel. A rocket that could have changed PSG's story, but in the end, it didn't matter. During the Euro, for Portugal, Vitinha was again one of the pillars of the Portuguese midfield, dominating the game and serving as a link player, making the rest of the Portuguese team move across the pitch. There was one match where he was out. If I'm not mistaken, it was because he received 2 yellow cards, and Portugal was completely out of control on the field. The guy is quite underrated, and often turned into a meme by a lot of people. The goalkeeper may not be current, but he still plays football and is very underrated. That guy is Jan Sommer. At first, I considered including Kobel here, who is also a great goalkeeper and very underrated, and also Swiss. However, Sommer has an impressive resume from the clubs he's played for. Check it out. At Bayern Munich, Sommer was by far one of the key players on Thomas Tuchel's team after Neuer's injury. He saved the Bavarians' goal numerous times, especially in that match against Manchester City in the Champions League during the season when City ended up winning, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the 22-23 season. If it hadn't been for him, Bayern Munich would have easily lost 4-0 or 5-0 to City. There were so many chances that City had on goal, and Sommer shown in goal, it was incredible. Sommer is so underrated that even with his impressive saves, he's never mentioned as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. The main factor that makes him even more underrated is his height. At just 1.83 meters, he is quite short for a goalkeeper. I mean, 1.83 meters in the NBA is pretty bizarre, you know? But Sommer has some incredible reflexes and makes some miraculous saves. It's no wonder he's currently at Inter Milan and is one of the key players for the Italian club. For me, saying that I didn't include Kobel or Oblak in this video is fair. Both are excellent goalkeepers too, but Sommer is definitely more underrated than they are. Unfortunately, not everyone shines, and this phrase fits perfectly with Rodrygo from Real Madrid. The kid from Villa is simply the most underrated player in Real Madrid's attack today, especially since the team now has 3 wingers who play on the same side. Rodrygo is by far one of the best players at Real, but basically, no one pays attention to him or talks about him, you know? It's precisely because the whole team is star-studded. It's incredible how most of the plays executed by Real Madrid go through Rodrygo's feet. Zidane himself, while coaching Real, stated that Rodrygo's quality was greater than that of Vinicius Jr., which I agree with precisely because they play multiple positions and perform various functions at the same time. Even though he's a left winger by trade and can play both on the left and the right, he also acts as an attacking midfielder and playmaker. In the national team, Tite and Dorival play him in the middle as well. In fact, that's what Dorival did in the recent lineup for the Brazilian national team, moving Rodrygo to the middle. The truth is that Rodrygo plays alongside a bunch of stars and doesn't shine as much as the others. I would bet anything that if he were, I don't know, at Liverpool or Manchester City, he would easily be one of the best players in the world. And that's the video, folks. Here are the most underrated players in my opinion. There were a lot of people I didn't include. I was going to add Boniface from Bayer Leverkusen, who is very underrated. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the upcoming curiosities and documentaries about your favorite players. I'm always here sharing everything about these legends of world football, and your participation is essential. So leave your opinion in the comments and tell me which legend you want to see in the next video. That really helps the channel. A big hug, and see you next time.